Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and the two hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria, and this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I am spinning and sewing and knitting and potentially weaving. I've taken the potentially out of sewing because we're going to talk about sewing. Potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices clamoring for your attention on the internet, and you decided to give this a go, and that makes you a rad human. If you're a returning viewer, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. It is 6:15 on Tuesday, December 5th. We are opening day 3 of my Advent spin, but I thought I would just quickly update you on what 1 and 2 look like. So I've transferred both of them to weaving bobbins. So these are my 2 tassel days. This was day 1, this was day 2. I do not think I'm gonna apply these together. I think I'm just gonna end up with a bunch of mini skeins when this is over and decide what to do at the end of the project. Maybe like a 1x1 colorwork sweater. I don't know, but I do think that these 2 are not gonna get plied together. I am going to wind these into a center pull ball and do a 2-ply. I don't think I would chain ply this. Yeah, I don't think I would chain ply this. I'm worried that it would require a little bit too much twist and make a little bit too much of a robust yarn. And I'm trying to keep the twist angle on this nice and gentle. So we're gonna do a 2-ply on this, and I'm just gonna put these in the box, in the bin, that the rest of my unopened Advent bundles are sitting in. I do not know what breed today is. We're gonna do exactly what we did with 1 and 2. I'm going to open it, I'm going to spin it, and then I'm going to ask Rose what it is. I will put it on the screen at some point, and then when we open day 4, we'll talk a little bit about the breed as referenced by the breed, the Fleece and Fiber source book. I think that worked really well. Also, here's a little bit of a funny story. I sat down to film, got everything set up, turned on all my lights, put my camera on, and realized I wasn't wearing pants because of all the trappings of a modern wardrobe. Pants are the one that I object to the most. I'm almost never wearing pants at home, which makes filming really interesting when I go, oh, this is an interesting angle to capture, and then I don't have pants on, so I don't film it. But I am fully dressed because you are going to be watching my legs. We have pants on. Cue the present dance. Let us open the Advent. Okay, enough. Let's see what Rose has in store for us today. What is it? Oh boy, that's pretty. Ooh, okay. This is very much giving me Northern Lights, like at midwinter vibes. I'm very much, I don't know what fiber this is at all. I'm not even gonna pretend because I thought I knew what day 1 was, and day 1 was something I'd never spun before, but this is, here we go. I'm gonna turn it this way so you can see more of the blue. So it is blues and purples. It's very pretty, very, very pretty. Oh, that's delightful. This feels a little bit finer than the Tessel did, to be quite honest. It feels like a little bit of a softer hand than the Tessel had. It's still definitely crisp and toothy, like this is not a fine wool, but it does feel a little bit finer. This definitely feels more next to skin than the Tessel did also, straight out the fiber. I'm gonna spin it the exact same way. I think I'm gonna start at 15:1 though, and see if I need to drop it down to 12:1, which is what I did on the Tessel. I started on 15:1. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about the hell kittens. I had a few people ask if I would talk about why Minerva is just walking back. Minnie, do you wanna come say hi? Come here, mama. Come here. Nope, she doesn't. Let me see if I can grab her. Minnie, come here. Where the baby go? Shh. Okay, she doesn't like this, but here's Minerva. Minnie, tolerate me for like 5 seconds. There we go. There's Minerva. She really is not about this at all. I'm gonna put her down before she gets mad at me. But here's Minnie, and we're gonna talk about, there we go. All right, goodbye. We're gonna talk about the hell kittens, and a few people asked me about like how we found them, how we got them, how we brought them home, how long we've had them. So we're going to, oh my God, Tori just, I cannot pick up Astoria. Astoria hates being held. So I will not even bother trying to pick her up, but we'll talk about the hell kittens. And we'll do a little bit of spinning. Okay, so I've already gone and gotten started here. So Minerva and Astoria are my 2 affectionately dubbed hell kittens because I'm convinced that they are evil. There are some days that I'm convinced that they are sent just to sabotage me and make me as miserable as possible. And then there are other days I'm convinced that they were sent to make sure that my brain doesn't fall out of my head and to keep me sane. But on their bad days, they are very, very bad. And that is how they got the title, the Hell Kittens. They are 6 years old. We adopted them when they were 12 weeks. So a little bit of the way back machine. And honestly, I don't know how long this episode will be because I don't know how long I can talk about my cats. Actually, I can talk about the cats for a long time. I've always wanted cats. I was big on pets. Growing up, my sister and my brother did not like cats, and we lived in a modest-sized Brooklyn apartment, but it was still an apartment, and so it wasn't really like dog territory. And also, I never wanted dogs. My sister never wanted dogs. My brother was ambivalent, and so we were never a dog family, but I always wanted a cat. My brother is terrified of cats. He is still terrified of cats, and so cats never worked out. But growing up, we had fish. I had several hamsters. After the second one died on me, though, I was like, no more hamsters for me. They did not live very long. And my first hamster, her name was Jessica, and she bit everyone except my dad. So my dad was the only person who could handle her. So he used to have to help me clean her cage because whenever I took her out, she would bite me. And whenever he took her out, she would just kind of hang out in his hands. And then my second hamster was so my first hamster was a dwarf, so a smaller hamster, and my second hamster was a teddy bear hamster, so a larger hamster, and her name was Fluffy, and I think she died of like heat. I don't know. It was really scary coming home from school. And I had them when I was in like middle school, and both times they died, I came home from school and went to check on them in their little cage, and I kept their cage at the foot of my bed, and some nights they would be running on their squeaky little treadmill and keeping me up at night. But it was very, very, I don't want to use traumatic, that is a big word, but it wasn't the most fun thing to come home and find your pets dead. And so that was my last hamster. We got rid of the cage, we got rid of the bedding, and that was it. When I moved out for a period, I had 2 lion head bunnies because I could not find an apartment that was cat friendly. So I had 2 lion head bunnies once upon a time. But the bunnies did not work out, and I actually don't want to talk about that because that is a traumatic story. The bunnies did not work out. I had them for 6 months, and then I had to give them back to the fostering organization and rehome them to a more stable home is what we're going to say. We're going to leave it at that. And so there were no pets for me for a while. And then when Joshua and I got married, and we moved here, the first thing I asked was their pet policy. And you can have a small dog, or you could have cats. And then I asked how many cats. I knew that I wanted 2 cats from the beginning. When we moved here, I was still in nursing school, so I was working and in school full time, so I was not home as often as I would have liked. And Joshua's schedule was pretty intermittent. Some days he would be here, some days he would work just 8 hours, some days he worked longer hours, and I didn't want to have one pet here by themselves, especially since I knew I wanted a kitten. I knew I wanted to get a smaller animal that, would, I guess we could socialize. Like, my concern was that if we got an adult cat, and I understand that senior cats need love too, but for a first-time pet owner, which is what we were going to be, well, Joshua grew up with cats. He's had cats his whole life. But for me, who would be a first-time cat mom, I wanted to get a kitten. So I didn't get an adult cat coming in with all their own, behaviors and all the things that they have learned. And I figured if we were going to get 1 kitten, we should just get 2 kittens so they would have playmates so that when we weren't home for hours on end, we weren't leaving a tiny cat by themselves. In hindsight, I think it was the best possible choice for us. So we went looking on cat adoption agencies in Brooklyn for a bonded pair. And I knew that bonded pairs were possible because my bunnies were a bonded pair. They were also litter mates, and I adopted them at the same time. And we went to several, I was looking on websites for weeks, looking for a bonded pair of kittens that, I guess I was looking for it was a bit of a vanity project. In the beginning, I really wanted a Maine Coon. And the odds of finding a Maine Coon kitten for adoption, I know, are not very high because most people just buy Maine Coons outright. I know there are people who breed Maine Coons, but I was like, maybe we'll get lucky. So part of the reason why it took me so long to find these cats was I was looking for Maine Coons. And in hindsight, again, I'm very glad I did not get 2 Maine Coons because those cats are huge. And I don't know if I wanted 2 small tigers prowling our small apartment. So It took me a while, and I found this listing, and their names on the listing were, I'll never forget, their names on the listing were Escada and Dior. And the thing that attracted me to them the most, again, total vanity project, the thing that attracted me to them the most was they had Maine Coon genetics, according to the listing. So I was like, cool, I'm not getting a full Maine Coon, but I'm getting a cat that is Maine Coon adjacent. And again, I'm very glad we didn't get a long hair cat, because I don't think I could have kept up with the grooming at the time. So sometimes these things work out the way that they were supposed to. I don't know if I could have kept up with grooming a long hair cat and school and work and everything else. So we went, I sent them an email, and the cats were actually being fostered near Barclays. I'm saying near Barclays Center, like you guys are from Brooklyn and you know this. The cats were actually being fostered a few train stations away from our apartment. So we went to meet them, and they were being kept in this room, and they were so small. Like, I look at our cats now, and our cats are not large. They're like 9 pounds fully grown. But I remember looking at these kittens and going, oh my God, these are the tiniest animals I'd ever seen. So they were, when we got there, Minerva instantly jumped into Joshua's lap. I should have known from then that she was going to be trouble. Minerva instantly jumped into Joshua's lap, and Tori ran under the chair and hid from us. And so we stayed in that room with them for an hour. We kind of just got to watch them. Minnie jumped into Joshua's lap and went to sleep. I got to pet her a bit. Tori did not come out the entire time. And then when we left, I looked at Joshua and I was like, I think these are our cats. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. He was like, do you want to meet any other cats? And I was like, no. These are our cats. So we filled out the application. It was hilarious. We had to have a home visit with this particular adoption agency. So they came and they walked through our apartment and, you know, told us about the things that could be potentially dangerous for kittens. And, you know, we had to like fill in the outlets. Like, it was literally like bringing home a baby. And we had to like, you know, fill out all this paperwork. The home visit went well. And within, I think like a week to 2 weeks of meeting the cats, we brought them home. And we took the train there. I think I have some video on my phone still of bringing them home. And if I have some video still of bringing them home, I'll like insert little clips as I talk. Because I remember taking some video. So we put them in the Uber, and Joshua held them, and they cried in the Uber the whole way. I mean, they're in this tiny little cardboard box, just screaming and shouting at us. And we brought them in here, and we opened the box, and they peeked out their heads like little meerkats, jumped out the box, and the rest was history. Now, within a day, Minerva was always the cat. I call her my Gryffindor cat. She was always the cat that was like fearless from the beginning. I mean, the next day I was sitting at my desk eating applesauce, and I put my applesauce down, and I turned around, and Minerva was eating my applesauce. Like, literally the next day, like, this cat did not take any time to warm up. She just came in, decided this was her space, and was going to run wild. Tori, we didn't see for days. She would come out from under the bed long enough to eat and long enough to go to the bathroom, and then she would just stay under the bed. She's actually still pretty standoffish, and she's afraid of her own shadow. She will come in the bed when we're in bed, and once we've stopped moving, she'll come and lay at the foot of the bed with us. But if we're running around and moving, she just doesn't want anything to do with us. She'll find the highest place in our apartment to perch and then just watch us. Whereas Minerva is always underfoot, and I trip over this cat all the time. I like to say that Minerva loves us so much it hurts. Because I've tripped over this cat, I have fallen trying to get around this cat, and I am always going out of my way to make the cat more comfortable, and sometimes that puts me in danger. So she loves us so much it hurts. And so we brought them home, and they like settled in. And in the beginning, it was kind of delightful to like watch them grow and explore. You know, we did all the things that new pet parents do. We brought them a million cat toys. I have bought these cats 3 cat beds, and they have never slept in any of the cat beds. I've stopped buying cat beds. These lunatics will sleep in a cardboard box. They'll sleep on my desk. They'll sleep on my desk chair. They'll sleep in the bed with us, but they will not sleep in any of the fancy cat beds that I spent all this money on. So we've stopped buying them cat beds. They'll sleep in a pile of our dirty laundry, but they will not sleep in the cat bed. And they kind of just do whatever they want. We learned early on that Minerva likes sleeping under the blanket. So she sleeps under the blanket between us like a whole human. And if we don't make space for her under the blanket, She gets in our face and she cries and she howls and she scratches and scratches at the blanket until I lift it up enough for her to get under it. And then she kind of sleeps in between us. And so that's, all my friends are like, oh, you let your cat sleep in the bed? And I'm like, I've tried to stop them from sleeping in the room with us because I'm a very light sleeper and they constantly come and go. And for a few weeks, I tried to train them to not come into our rooms. So when we went to bed, we would close the door at night. And when I tell you, these hooligans sat outside our bedroom and howled for hours. Like I kept going, they're gonna give up, right? They're gonna give up, right? They're gonna stop doing this, right? Well, maybe not they. Minerva. Oh, that's my work alarm. I'm gonna turn that off. That was my phone telling me it's time to wake up. I'm already awake, phone, and I am fully dressed. They sat outside our room. Well, not they. Minerva sat outside our room and howled for 2 hours. And every time I thought she would give up, she would like take a breather and she would start again. And then the second I opened the door, she was in the bed and under the covers. So I have stopped trying to keep them out of our room at night. And I am just hoping that they will eventually settle down in their older age and not run around as much. Now, the kittens, at one point I was convinced Minerva was part dog. Minerva plays fetch, which is the wildest thing I've ever seen from a cat. If you throw something, she'll go get it and she'll bring it back to you and wait for you to throw it again, which I did not understand was cat behavior at all. And Tori loves the laser pointer. She will like run herself ragged if you take that laser pointer out. They still play like kittens. We don't make as much time for play for them, which I feel like we should be fixing. Now that I talk about it, we should probably fix that and make more time for play for them. But they still play like kittens. They still sleep in a pile on top of each other. Joshua had to reassure me that it was normal for kittens to wrestle, because when I brought them home, I was very convinced that they were going to kill each other with how violent the wrestling is sometimes. And they still do that. Minerva is the aggressor and then she gets beat up all the time. I don't know who the dominant cat is. Joshua and I like change our mind on who the dominant cat in our household is on a regular basis. I don't know who the dominant cat is right now. But Minerva will like come up to Tori while Tori's just like sleeping and minding her business and swat her in the face. And I was like, Minnie, why do you do this? And then of course Tori gets mad and then jumps on her and then they run around hissing and scratching at each other. And then eventually like Minnie like limps back into the bedroom just defeated and goes to sleep. And I don't understand why Minerva picks fights with her sister. It is beyond me. But the cats have been very good for me in a number of ways. I mean, it's just nice to have companionship, especially on the days when Joshua goes home to see his family and I'm kind of home alone. It's nice to have companionship. It's nice to have quiet companion. Well, Minerva's not quiet at all, but it's nice to have quiet companionship. Like once she gets settled, she just kind of like lays next to you. She's a huge purrer, like space heater, rumble purr just next to you. And it doesn't take much for Minerva to start purring. She just likes to be next to us. So if she's next to us, she will start purring. She doesn't require pets. She doesn't require interaction. She just has to kind of be in the same space as you are. When I had this idea that cats were going to be incredibly aloof pets and were not going to require anything from me. And that is exactly what Tori is. Tori wants nothing to do with us. I call her my evil cat. She's my Slytherin cat who is constantly plotting my demise, and Minerva's my Gryffindor cat who's going to run headlong into any amount of trouble she can find. Tori's what I expected from a cat, right? Like she wants to be fed, so she yells at us when she wants to be fed, and otherwise she just kind of sits at the foot of the bed and watches us. And Minerva is what I thought I would get if I'd gotten a dog. Like she just wants to be near me all the time, which apparently is like, I think they call them Velcro cats. It's not the most uncommon thing, but I just, again, because the representation of cats was what I've seen in the media, everyone talks about cats as like super aloof pets. And Joshua has not had, I think his family had 3 cats, and none of his cats have been as cuddly. And he's told me none of his cats has been as cuddly as Minerva is. So those are my hell kittens. They are equal parts the best part of my day and the worst part of my day. They are very passive aggressive, and if we leave them home for a weekend, I come home and I find they puked on the bed on a regular basis. That is how they punish me for leaving them. And it's just like, oh, okay, so the humans thought we didn't need to go. And if we take them where we're going, they also get upset, because we've taken them a few times with us to go see my mother-in-law and pat them in the cat carrier, and they did not enjoy that. And then if we leave them home, they also don't enjoy that. They're fickle. They are fickle. Somehow Minerva is a dog. I got distracted by the alarm. So Minerva will drink out the toilet if we let her. Even though they have a very fancy pet fountain, she will drink out the toilet. I don't understand her problem. She will play fetch. She just sits there and like pants. Like I'm convinced that she has like dog genetics that we just didn't know about. And they got rescued when they were 2 weeks old. So it wasn't even like they were like out and about in the wilds that long. They were rescued at 2 weeks old. We couldn't adopt them till 12 weeks because we had to wait for them to be spayed. So they were safe in foster care, just hanging out. I don't understand where Minerva picked up all this interesting behavior. She is also very much a lap. She really is a Velcro cat. She's a lap cat, so she has to be in our lap at all times. She has to be under the covers with us all the time. She just wants to be next to us. Now, some people ask me about whether they destroy my yarn, and I mean, they're cats. So if I leave yarn on the floor, they'll take it. But I think they have learned enough to know that if mom leaves the yarn on the bed, or if mom leaves yarn on the table, it's not safe yarn to play with. If I drop a skein of yarn on the floor, I've asked for it, and anything that happens is kind of my fault. Anything that happens next is my fault. But they're very good about not touching my stuff. They are very bad about raw wool, which I guess makes sense. It smells like sheep. These are still primitive hunters. No matter how much we've domesticated them and put them into our small spaces, they are still primitive hunters at their core, and so they like the raw wool. If I open a fleece, they are instantly in it. They are in it. Minerva, I found like a few months ago, I found a cache of like locks of raw wool that Minerva must have taken while I was sorting fleece and just made a little nest under our bed, because I moved under the bed to clean up, and there was a bunch of fleece under there, and it was all different fleeces. So she must have been taking it over time, and I just didn't realize it. And then one day I found it. I did in fact leave her little nest. I thought it would be mean to displace her. So I did in fact leave her little nest under the bed. She's not hurting anybody down there. But they love the raw wool. And then once it's washed, they will sleep in it. I mean, they'll sleep in it while it's wet, which is a thing that makes me laugh. I'm like, don't cats like not like water? They'll sleep in the raw wool while the washed wool. And they'll sleep on my sweaters while it's blocking. I don't mind them sleeping on the washed wool. Them sleeping on the blocky sweaters is what scares me, because if they decide to sharpen their claws on my sweater while it's blocking, I will have a mini heart attack. So I'm constantly trying to find new places to block my sweaters that they will not jump on top of, and I'm failing. It's a war of attrition here, where I'm constantly trying to outsmart the cats, and the cats are constantly proving that they are smarter than me. And one of these days, I will just have to give up. I don't know that they'll sharpen their claws on my hand knits, but I also don't know that they won't sharpen their claws on my hand knits, and I don't want to run that risk. So, again, the raw, but I don't mind when they sleep in the raw wool. I mean, there's cat hair on everything, and I have white cats, and I wear a lot of black. So, imagine what my life looks like. Like, I'm constantly going outside covered in cat hair, and it kind of is what it is. My favorite part of being a cat mom is the constant battles for dominance that Minerva and I engage in. I got a little bit of a slub there, so I'm just going to take it off. My favorite part is the constant battles of dominance that Minerva and I engage in. Minnie does this really fun thing, and Joshua gets home from work before me every day. And she will just casually hang out in the bed with him, and he has confirmed this. When I get home, she moves onto my pillow and lays on my pillow. And he was like, she doesn't lay on your pillow when you're not home. But for some reason, when you come home, that's when she wants to lay on the pillow. And I think Minerva and I are in a constant battle for dominance. And she's trying to prove to me who the alpha cat is in our household by doing this. Because she lays on my pillow and then she just makes eye contact with me and stares at me until I like shoo her away. It's the wildest thing. I don't know why she does it. I really don't know what the behavior is. The other thing she does is she'll lay next to Joshua and she'll like cuddle up in his arms, and then she'll just kind of stare at me. And I don't know if it's an invitation to join the cuddle party or if it's her going, this is my human and you can't have him. And Joshua likes to tell me that I'm projecting my own anxieties onto the cat. And I'm like, what anxieties do I have to project? Like, you're my husband, like you chose me, you're kind of stuck here. But also, maybe I am projecting my own anxieties on the cat. But if you've ever had a staring contest with a feline, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they just stare at you like they want your soul, and if you don't give it to them right now, bad things are gonna happen. I don't know. But I guarantee you Minerva's not on my pillow right now, and if I go in that room to say something to her, she's going to move right onto the pillow, because this is the thing she's been doing for years, and honestly, I don't know if I have reinforced this behavior or if this is just innate at this point. But the hell kittens are great. All things being, there are some days that I'm like, these cats don't have to go out the window when they take my stuff. For some reason, they like my makeup brushes, so they chew on my makeup brushes, which is really annoying when you go to put on makeup and your brush is covered in cat saliva. All things considered, though, they're not really rambunctious pets. They don't claw. They don't really scratch. They haven't caused damage. It's impossible to teach them. I mean, I'm sure it's not impossible to train a cat. We started too late. It's impossible to teach these cats. I kind of just let them do what they want, because the things that they want to do aren't that bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. So I hope you enjoyed hearing me babble about my hell kittens for a little bit. I will have hopefully included some pictures and some video of them out and about. I have so many silly stories. There was one time Minerva got her head in the handle of a plastic bag and ran screaming for like 3 minutes. Instead of just letting me help her, I kept trying to catch her to help her, and I guess I was agitating her further. So it was a mad dash across the apartment for 3 minutes while I tried to get this plastic bag from around her neck. We had to throw Tori in the tub multiple times. We were having like bathroom issues with her, and she kept getting like little bits of poop stuck to her butt, and we kept having to throw her into the tub to wash her off. And I think for a really solid period, she thought that we were evil and she hated us. And every time she saw us coming, she assumed that we were throwing her in the tub. You know, Tori has probably a lot of trauma, and this is probably why she hides from us. But the hell kittens have been my ride or die companions for the last 6 years. They have been with me on the good days. They're with me on the bad days. They definitely are in tune to when our emotional states aren't great. They are in tune to when our physical states aren't great. Minnie gets extra cuddly when she thinks we're not feeling well or she thinks we're unhappy. I'm really happy that I made the decision to bring them home. I really want a third cat. I want a third cat because I want a cat that's my cat. Minerva's Joshua's cat, and she tolerates me on a good day. So I don't get as much lap time, and I don't get as much like affection, because if Joshua and I are together, she's going to choose Joshua. So I do want a third cat one day that I can hopefully teach to be my cat, which honestly, I'm gonna make that choice, and I'm gonna bring the cat home. And the cat's either going to be super aloof or it's going to be Joshua's cat again, because you can't pick what happens with these animals. They are their own creatures. But when we leave our apartment and we have a little bit more space, I do still want to get my Maine Coon. I still want to get my giant, wild, barely domesticated tiger cat. So that might happen one of these days. But for now, the girls are keeping us company, and I hope they will continue to keep us company for a very long time since. Okay, I had a lot more to say about the hell kittens than I thought I was going to, but that's it for today, y'all. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. I have been trucking away on my spin. This is what I have left. I've been trucking away on my spin. I'm really interested to see what fiber this is, so I am going to text Rose a decent time. It is still 6 something in the morning. I'm going to text Rose a decent time, but I'm going to get up and get ready for work and head on out. Thank you so much for spending this half hour with me. I hope your December is off to a great start, and that you're making all the room for joy and for magic and for wonder. I'll see you around for the next, this is day 3, so I'll see you around for when we open day 4 of our Advent spin.